Hey, what's up guys, Luke here from Fiends, and today we're going to be talking about The Walking Dead. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a massive zombie fanatic, so I've loved zombie films forever. I'm a massive fan of Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Living Dead, 28 Days Later, you name it, I'll probably be a fan of it. And which is actually really shocking why it's taken me so long to get around to watching this. So long story short, I was always supposed to just binge watch this a season at a time, and then I ended up 7 seasons behind. But because I'm a boss, I binge watched 5 seasons in like a week, and then I felt really bummed out because loads of my favourite people were dying. So I had a short break and then finished the last few seasons off, and now I'm up to date. Yes, I'm up there with Negan. There's probably going to be spoilers in this video. Enjoy, let's get into this. For anyone who doesn't already know, The Walking Dead is an adaptation of the comics of the same name. The show centres around Sheriff's deputy, Rick Grimes, who, having awoke from a coma, finds that the world has been plunged into a zombie apocalypse. Finding his family and a small band of survivors, they all try to forge a living in a world populated by zombies and, even worse, bad people. The show has been a huge hit for AMC, regularly bringing in big audience numbers. This is interesting because the zombie genre is arguably an oversaturated place, especially since the early noughties, which saw the resurgence in zombie films due to things like 28 Days Later, The Dawn of the Dead, and what followed was a slew of zombie films, games and books. Naturally, these slowly started to fade out in favour of new trends like Possession and Poltergeist movies. So The Walking Dead was a bit of a gamble. I mean, the zombie genre's kind of faded and it kind of came at the tail end of that. But oh my god, it is a gamble that paid off. It's so fucking good. And why does it work? Well, I believe it all comes down to the fundamentals of zombies. That's corny. Firstly, it should be pointed out that AMC already had an incredible source material to work with, which laid the groundwork for the show. What both the comic and the TV show understand is that fundamentally, zombie movies are not about the zombies, they're about people. People trying to survive against insurmountable odds. People forced to challenge the concept of morality and do unspeakable things in the name of survival. In a world in which the dead rise up to eat the living, the first thing to be stripped from us is our civility. And when that's gone, are we no better than the things that are already trying to kill us? So for those of you that don't know, The Walking Dead isn't referring to the zombies, it's referring to the people. Essentially, it's saying that all roads lead to the same place, which is death. It doesn't matter if you die old and peacefully in your sleep. It doesn't matter if you die in a violent confrontation, or it doesn't matter if you die at the gnashing teeth of the zombie horde. All roads lead to the same place. And it's this sense of existential hopelessness versus the human will which really drives the show forward. These same traits can be found in many classic zombie films, including George A. Romero's legendary 1968 film, The Night of the Living Dead. The Night of the Living Dead set the groundwork for the zombie genre. The plot is simple: a group of people band together in a house to survive the night against the undead. Despite the simple plot, the film was released during a traumatic time in American history, the Civil Rights Movement. The lead character in the film is a black man called Ben. After becoming a de facto leader of the group and surviving the night, he is shot and killed by a group of vigilante zombie slayers. This senseless act, in contrast to everything we had just been through, is sobering and a nod to America's dark days of lynching. The film ends with no music and left audiences feeling shell-shocked. The Walking Dead 2 also deals with many themes of inequality. For one, it's set in Georgia, which is in the South, a place notorious for class segregation, race segregation, and what it does is it basically forces us to re-examine our often misguided views about people. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that when most people first saw Daryl, like me, they jumped to the conclusion that he was a redneck and therefore a bad guy. Of course, we know now that he is one of the bravest and most resourceful characters on the show. The show isn't afraid to deal with these views and forces us to question our own prejudices, and it does so time and again, but crucially it does so in a way that forces us to judge the characters on the merits of their actions. The most interesting part of the show for me is watching characters develop over time. Some become heroes and some cowards, and everyone is broken in some way. A shining example of this would be Gabriel Stokes, a character who is originally cowardly and self-interested. He is forced to question his faith, but eventually finds it in him to become a counted-on member of the team, Rick even trusting him to guard his child during a walker attack. There's no better example of character transformation than the lead character Rick Grimes. Much like Ben from the formerly mentioned Night of the Living Dead films, he is forced to become the de facto leader of the group. As a sheriff, this seems only, well, as a former sheriff, this seems only natural, but with no judicial system, he is often forced to become the judge, jury, and the executioner, something that weighs heavy on his psyche. It's only when we get to Alexandria in season 5 do we realise how much our characters have changed, how far removed they are from their former selves. They've become hardened by the horrors of the world outside of Alexandria, and Alexandria is almost a picturesque American town. One of my favourite scenes is watching the people of Alexandria look at Rick as though he is some sort of feral madman. Of course, that madman just so happens to be right. It's this type of character progression that makes the show so gripping to watch, and I love the fact that the show strays from many of the tropes of the genre. For example, Rick is the hero, but a lot of the time is an emotional wreck, and his mind is questionable a lot of the time, and his decisions are very questionable as well. The same can be said for his son. I mean, his son isn't like a whiny little kid. He's stoic and he's kind of scary, to be honest. And then of course you got Daryl, who, like I said earlier, is one of the bravest characters on the show. He finds it hard to relate to other people. He can't really open up to express himself, and when he does, it's all the more powerful. Of course, there's something else that makes this show badass as well. The walkers. We might find it hard to admit, but violence appeals to our lizard brains, and seeing hordes of zombies being mowed down or ripping someone apart is gruesome fun. The effects on the show are fantastic, especially the practical effects. As a lover of the works of Stan Winston and movies like American Werewolf in London and The Thing, I have a huge admiration for practical effects. Many of the human deaths on the show are often tear-jerking, unless they're massive dicks and then they deserve it, and then that's fun. But the zombie deaths are chaotic fun. Death by swords, death by crossbow, and sometimes just someone getting their throat ripped out. The show is often very dark, so it's strangely fitting that the show's main antagonists are often the source of a relief for us. So finally, we'll end on the bad guys, and I've always been of the philosophy that a good movie needs a great bad guy, and fucking hell man, The Walking Dead delivers. Okay, so there'll be some spoilers here, so you've been warned. The first bad guy is Rick's former best friend and colleague, the Punisher, aka Shane. This tortured soul is a point of contention between Rick and his family, who ends up taking a road that leads to one of the best death scenes in The Walking Dead. Later we had the eye patch wearing, throat ripping governor, and then holy shit did they turn up to 11. In one of the most brutal scenes ever witnessed, we are introduced to Negan and Lucille. Negan is a ruthless psychopath. He's much harder to relate to than previous antagonists, who we can empathise with on some level, but his stylish look and his charismatic charm are hard not to like. He is a bad motherfucker. It's because The Walking Dead has so many of its fundamentals right that the show has become such an iconic success. It's not a perfect show, nothing is, and I would love to talk even more about the show. I haven't even delved into the characters, so I will do that on a later video. I'll have to, because we're midway through season 7, so we've got some cool shit coming up. So what I want to ask you is, do you like The Walking Dead? Do you not like The Walking Dead? Who are your favourite characters? What do you want to happen next? What do you think of Negan? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and for your fix, keep it Scream Fiends.